Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Inside the OC podcast. My name is Matt Canizaro, and we are tuned in today for a nice conversation. We're going to take it out to the Midwest and talk with Lenny Morris Jr., the USBC Hall of Famer. A lot of great stories coming from him going back decades, nearly 40 years on the Open Championships lanes. He currently tops the lifetime average list for bowlers with 30 or more appearances at the OC. I can't wait to hear from his success over the decades again, much of which I got to see, and my co-host Aaron Smith got to experience some as well in recent years. Let's bring in Aaron and talk for a minute, and then we'll get right to the Hall of Fame. We'll get right to it. Aaron, what is going on today? How are you?
Hello, Matthew. I'm doing well. Definitely looking forward to the show. Lenny, one of the great guys in bowling, a great ambassador for the sport, and you're right. It's been the few years I got to work at the Open Championships, got to see some success for both Lenny and his son Jacob, which is very cool and something we'll talk about a little bit on the show. But I think probably one of the coolest was watching being part of the 2015 World Bowling Senior Championships. Lenny representing Team USA, getting to see them take home the gold medal in team event was a pretty awesome event for me to check out on the live stream side. So that was definitely a fond memory for me, and can't wait to kind of bring that up and talk about some Team USA moments as well.
Now, looking back at the numbers, these gentlemen, Lenny and his Lens Limited teammates, have found a way to be relevant and successful at the Open Championships for decades. Going back to the 1980s, you barely existed when they first found their way into the spotlight, and they're still doing it. It seems like every 10 years or so, they have some kind of breakout performance. Lenny's still bowling high sets in his career. Just did that a couple of years ago. So let's just get right to it. Let's talk to him and hear the secret to success and longevity.
Hi, guys.
There he is.
Buddy.
Thank you for the nice words.
All right. Hey, we got plenty of them, and you earned every one of them. We're just here to tell the world all the stories about your success. We caught up here for a minute about what you've been up to during this crazy time in the bowling business. You run a pro shop, and of course, with everything shut down and bowling shut down, some free time on your hands, but you didn't waste it. You stayed busy, and now you're back at it. So tell us what the last few months have been like, the things you've learned. You got some quality time with your family there, and entered into some new areas of life.
Yeah, it's been the first few months. It was kind of hard, just a lot of Netflix and a few home projects. And then eventually I got a lot of those projects done and got to bowl a little bit. The bowling center, I'm in, I was able to get in there and throw a little bit. And then once, the tournaments kind of started going away, it wasn't as much desperation to stay as sharp. So then I got a little lazy there. I got to admit, kind of took a break, but it was good. Got to spend some good quality family time. And like I said, get a few things done. I reinvented a golf game a little bit, which has been kind of fun. So, yeah, it definitely missed the bowling, missed the people. But, yeah, like I said, man, we're back getting into it slowly here. And things are looking at going in the right direction.
Now, bowling is what you do over your career, again, in the pro shop business, but a long career at the Open Championships, nearly 40 years at this point. Also some time on the PBA Tour, great PBA regional success, and a four-time PBA 50 champion. Really standing up to the test of time, always relevant. How do you do it? I know you have some cool nicknames in the Midwest. You guys are a ton of fun, and we talked to Mike Nape a few weeks back, and he told us kind of how things are in the Midwest, and kind of just sum up your bowling career a little bit, and how you stay in the spotlight as you have.
Well, I think I never stopped learning. For one, I think I've always had that desire to keep going, and I obviously a good support team helps too. My wife's great. Yeah, I think I kept my game kind of simple. I don't think I've been fortunate not to have a lot of injuries, a little more now as I get later in life, but I think I've always been mentally pretty strong. I think that probably carried me a lot of ways. But it's not been easy. I mean, I think I worked very, very hard at it, especially when I was younger. I paid my dues. Many nights I went to the hotel room crying and depressed and all that, So I kind of got that attitude. Anything good happens to me on the lanes, I deserve it. You know, I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but I think believe me, you bowl how many tournaments and you only win a few of them. You know, I mean, it's definitely not been an easy road. But you know what? I never gave up. You know, I always, you know, I've had a few younger guys, you know, well, not younger, but, you know, how do you keep doing it? How do you keep going? And I go, well, you know, you keep knocking at that door, you know, and but I just try to keep things a little simpler. And like I said, I don't know. I feel like I'm still getting better. I don't know if that makes sense. And I've been very blessed, though. I've been very, very blessed to be able to, you know, I stay in the equipment side of it, and with a good company with Storm. Got to be good friends with the Boresch, and been very, very helpful to kind of keep me maybe just hang around a little longer, I guess. So, you know, it all kind of works together. And like I said, just a great support team. And yeah, I don't know. You know, sometimes I pinch myself. I'm bowling with Walter Ray Williams and Parker Bowling in the World Championships and competing with these guys on the senior tour. But yeah, you know, I'm just enjoying the ride while I can, because you never know what tomorrow brings. So.
Now, Lenny, you talked about having a great support system, and you arguably have one of the greatest support systems ever, just being from Wisconsin, with their great bowling legacy and just how much, you know, how much pride they take, you know, specifically in the Open Championships. But, you know, what was it like growing up in the Wisconsin environment? We hear so much about it, but, you know, you got to live it. What was it like, you know, kind of getting to learn from some of those great players along the way, and, you know, developing your game and obviously your love for the Open Championships too?
Well, a lot of people don't know this. I mean, most people do, but my stepfather's a 4-time Eagle winner who I grew up with since I was 10 years old. His name's Bob Larson. And he was the owner of the bowling alley. He actually is the reason you know, my parents were both, my dad was a good bowler, my mom was a good bowler. I always kid my mom, I said, you left my dad for a higher average bowler. But yeah, my stepfather, Bob, biggest inspiration to me. But when I was a kid, I would travel with him and watch him bowl, not to nationals, but you'd always hear their stories. And I've told this before, but around Wisconsin, you didn't get respect unless you bowled good at nationals. And so growing up, that was all we kind of like, that was our goal. You know, my 3 goals in bowling when I was a kid was to win an ABC title, shoot back-to-back 300s, because, you know, back then nobody did it, and obviously make a PBA TV show, you know. But them were like the goals, you know. But yeah, growing up in Wisconsin and having Bob, you know, just a big influence on me. And he bowled with Rich Wonders and Daryl Mizell and Gary Darychevsky, who I later became teammates with, and to follow their careers. And, you know, just, yeah, it was just a big influence on me. So we always kind of had the bar was always raised growing up around here, no doubt about it. And the people take it very serious, that tournament. They just look forward to it. And believe me, I'm in the business of selling equipment, and they just love their going to USBCs, you know.
Well, we appreciate having them, and you guys every year, of course. Now I've been a part of nearly half your career at the OC, and some of the biggest moments. Before we get into that and what brought you to the Open Championships, let's hear more about your career in general. Of course, you've taken a path that may be a little different than some, especially with your talent level, but you've got the business and the family and you know, a few stints here and there on the national scene. But tell us kind of how you got to where you are and what happened along the way to take you down those roads.
Well, when I was about 14, 15, I wanted to be a pro bowler. School wasn't a big option. Obviously, college bowling. I mean, if I could do things different, I probably would have. But so when I was 19 years old, I joined the PBA, and I was going to be a pro bowler. I had won a few bucks in a couple tournaments, and at that time it was an exempt tour. So I think I was going to go out to Las Vegas and bowl because there was no Rabbit Squad there, and that was like '83. Well, at PBA school, I met Gus and Aris, who obviously we'll probably talk about him much during the show. But so he was going on a tour, so my parents said, "Well, Lenny, you're not going to college. We'll put you in the first couple tournaments," because I had won like $1,000. Well, back then that was like $5,000. So I was going to go bowl the thing. So Gus picked me up, and we drove up to the pro tour out west in California, and then out to Vegas. And then they kept feeding me money, and I kept thinking of joining up, but they kept feeding me money. And I bowled like the first 5 or 6 tournaments of that year. And they came back, and then I landed a sponsor and did that, and things just weren't really going well. And during the middle of that, after about one of my best friends said, Lenny, there's a pro shop open up in Racine. You interested? I go, yeah, but I'm kind of doing this bowling thing. He goes, well, you can work it out. So anyway, the rest is history. I've been there 37 years now in the pro shop, and then started bowling, and I had a great sponsor that backed me, and then things weren't going well. I didn't bowl many regionals back then. So I basically kind of focused on the pro shop, became more of a part-time pro, fell in love, got married, and still had the pro shop, and I was still bowling part-time, started bowling regionals, and things just started kind of getting better and better. And I had a really nice part-time tour career when it would come around, and it just seemed like things got better and better. And then started doing more of the regionals, became like a weekend warrior, and started bowling that. And in '92, Gus, which we remained good friends, they had these world team challenges. And, by that time we were all bowling with our local teams, going to nationals and stuff. And we ended up bowling a throw-together team with Gus, Gary, Dale, Steve Brinkman, and who am I missing? Man, am I missing? Is that 5? Dale, Gus, myself. Yeah, that's 5. So we ended up going up to Minnesota, and we bowled well up there. We finished second, I believe. And we decided, hey, let's do this more. And we bowled a couple more events, and then we ended up building our team together and just kind of grew together, all as bowlers from there on out. And then, so yeah, I had a really nice senior career. There's a few times where my sponsor, and, this time I bought a house, my kids were little, and I would say 97, 98, I thought like, I was bowling part-time, almost made a couple shows. I was like, man, this, but then that was kind of about the time the money started to kind of go down, and I was bowling good in these team challenges, bowling a good regional career. And it was like, you know what, for me to give up from what I got now, I'd have to be a top 10 money winner, have to have a really good, really good thing. And I'm not a big I love to travel, but I don't like being gone too long,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would have been a strain. And I thought I had the best of both worlds, to be honest with you. I was still kind of a little bit of amateur bowling in me, and then playing around on the pro tour a little bit. And then when I turned 50, I was able to do it because the senior tour runs during the summer, and I'm slow in the pro shop in the summer. My kids are older, and that's all I've done. I've worked part-time jobs in the summer for years, when obviously in Wisconsin, the pro shop's pretty dead. And then when I started making money, knock on wood, and bowling like regionals, and we had a lot of them then in the Midwest, and a lot of good times, I was actually making a little money, where I could get through the summers. And that's basically been my job every year since, until this year. This year I lost 2 jobs there for a while, but we're hanging in there though. But yeah, that's been pretty much it. Just been grinding away for a long, long time, guys. Just enjoying it though, and said I've been very blessed.
Well, it sounds like definitely a great path and a great career, and still, again, based on your success, definitely not done. And we'll get to all of that along the way here. But now let's dive in to the Open Championships. Your career started back in 1980. Again, you knew what the OC was all about. You knew what that little orange bird, there it is right there. You knew what that was all about, and how much that meant, the prestige. And, you weren't somebody in the Midwest in Wisconsin until you had one. But the career didn't start off all that well. And when you look at the numbers over 38 years, very consistent. That's the most important thing, being the high average guy. Aaron just couldn't believe, how fast you'd already amassed, 74,000 pins, well on your way. But again, some tough goings there early on. And then, of course, the formation of Lynn's Limited and the legacy that you guys now are a part of. But tell us about those early days. We know what got you there, but how did it happen? How did you end up in Louisville in 1980 to kick things off? And it took a few years there to really get rolling.
Well, Louisville would be probably one of the most memorable tournaments. I can't remember much about the bowling, but I sure remember the fun we had. It was funny. I went with some older guys, and I was 18 at the time, and I think the drinking laws were, 19 or 20. But so I went with some guys. We were going to go play golf, and a typical young dumb bowler, I was sneaking into bars, which I always looked a little older because I was always pretty thin on top. But I hung with these older guys, and they almost killed me for that week. I'll tell you that. But we had a lot of fun and stuff, and a great trip. And that's one of the memories that, going to these tournaments all these years and always being so serious, it makes you appreciate the good times you had when it wasn't. It was serious, but it wasn't, life or death the way it is now. But yeah, that was I got broken in good with those guys. And then I think the next year, after we realized what this was all about, then we kind of formed some, I got together with some different different group and stuff. But yeah, the old guys took care of me that first year. Wow. And I'll never forget. We had a great time though. A lot of fun.
You also just described my first year at the Open Championships as well. So hopefully there's some success in my future. I don't need 3 Eagles, maybe one, or run at 1 or 2 here and there. But yeah, that pretty much probably describes a lot of people's first times. Again, the main reason folks don't go to the OCs because they weren't invited, and then sometimes they get the call as a sub or to fill in with one of these longtime groups, and it takes a minute to realize the environment and what it's all about. So what was it about that first trip on the lanes that made you want to come back again? I know you were hungry for success at the OC to keep up the family tradition there. Yeah. But was there anything special about the event itself that made you want to kind of leave that group and go to a little more bowling oriented group of guys?
No, as I remember, I can remember coming back home and I bowled terrible. And all of a sudden, months later, one of the guys, Bill Mariscalco, he handed me an envelope full of money. I go, well, what's this for? He goes, this is from the Nationals. I go, what? I bowled terrible, He goes, yeah, but we split as a team, So at that time, it was maybe a couple hundred. There's a couple of guys that bowled really well that year, and so it was like, wow. Them guys didn't really bowl that great, but there was always, good prize money in nationals, and that kind of made you wake up. Hey, you can. There's some money to be made here too, And this is before the brackets and all that good stuff. But yeah, that was kind of a wake up call. Like, hey, this is no time to be having a good time here. Have a good time, but let's be responsible here. And yeah, so that kind of was a wake up call, and then. And it was kind of embarrassing, the scores were, good. And I never forget, we were in a room, one of my old buddies, Sergio, who I started bowling some doubles with, and he looked at us young kids and he started yelling at us. And he was from Italy, and he goes, "Are you kids? You think you're good? You're good back home, but you stink." So he kind of gave us a riot act a little bit, and which was true. We were good hot shot young, like still happens today. We were good young shot league bowlers, and we had a little more challenging condition, and we stumped it up. So yeah, it was kind of like a wake up call though. So we took it a little more serious.
Well, we'll chalk the first 7 or 8 years up to learning and experience, and then in 1989, everything kind of changed, not only for you but in the bowling world and at the Open Championships. A big scoring explosion in Wichita that year. New lane surface, new things happening technology wise. The most 300s in history at the time. We had 44 that year. You were one of them in the doubles event, and that's kind of looking at the numbers again, kind of the turning point in your career at the OC, getting comfortable on the lanes, all the changes in the sport. But what a special year, not only for you, but also for the guys who are now your teammates and fellow Hall of Famers. Tell us about 1989 and just you can almost hear the click of things for you and for our event. But tell us about that year being kind of the springboard for you.
Yeah, I think 86 actually sprungboarded me a little bit, but I had a front 10 in a row in 1986 in the singles, and I took over the lead that year. But that kind of really got me hyped up. And at that time, there was only like 2, 3, 5, 6 300s ever shot, but that was kind of a springboard. I never forget when my buddies John Peterson told me, "Don't worry, Lenny, we'll get another chance." Well, then 1989 came up, and it was the greatest trip I've ever had to nationals. Probably one of the most memorable, because we went down with a group of guys in a motorhome. We drove. We had a wheel on spin the wheel on a tire every time we stopped for gas, and whoever number would come up, you had to pay the guy $5. It was just one of those great trips. And we all went there and bowled good. Rick Birdsall, was with us, and he took over the lead, and I think in singles and all events that year. I had shot 300. My brother-in-law, Jeff Rampart, at 298. Mikey Wilter at 299. It was just, you couldn't believe how this whole week went, and to be able to share that with that good, and trust me, we had a lot of fun that week, but it was just an awesome thing. And that really raised the bar that, hey, this is good. But I think back then, what I had learned is you had to play inside, and maybe even Wisconsin, I don't know, but we were playing fourth arrow with I still got the tapes, fourth arrow with urethane falling it back. And, you were just tight inside. And a few of us had a pretty good niche for that because we grew up bowling. I know in our local centers, they always hooked a lot. And maybe that helped us that year. But yeah, the scores were obviously high for everybody that year. But it was weird. That whole squad we bowled on was just unbelievable how well we bowled that trip. And that's probably one of the most fun, memorable, great scoring events I've ever had, especially with the group I was with. A lot of laughs.
Well, now a lot of folks will say team bowling is the most fun, but also the toughest at times as well. You could have 5 of the best bowlers in the whole world out there, and if you can't communicate or there's not the chemistry, things maybe don't go as well. But you guys, the Lens Limited group has come together. You mentioned the World Team Challenges, and then the legacy at the OC, and to stick together to be for so many years and to be as successful. If there ever was a conversation about the best teams in Open Championships history, no doubt this group is going to be one of those folks in the conversation. You mentioned Gary Darychevsky and Gus winning, doubles together, and just the success that they had, and Gary kind of leading the way as kind of an inspiration for you coming out there, and then to all come together. That had to be pretty special. And then going home, heads held high after every performance. I think taking the lead is almost expected, or was for a long time. And then you guys were able to get the job done together in 2000 in Albuquerque. You finally got to add your name to the list of great Eagle winners in Wisconsin. Those guys already were on the list as well. Dale Trevor, of course, in the mix with some success. Tell us about that first win and just kind of that team and how much did that solidify, that team's place and what it meant and how long you guys were going to try to stay together.
Well, I think that was we had so many close calls, as a team, and especially those guys felt bad for me at the time because I was the only guy without an Eagle, and they really wanted it for me, and I wanted it obviously really bad, and it just shows you how tough it is to win out there. But yeah, that was definitely the thing. I think we all knew we could win because we were knocking at the door so many times. And, things just have to go your way to win no matter what you're bowling, and yeah, that was just an awesome year. And it was kind of cool. My mom was sick at that time, and it was kind of nice to post a thing like that. Yeah, it's one of those weeks you won't forget for sure.
Cool. And that was team all events. So that's a marathon. Definitely not a 3-game sprint by any means. So 9 games of communicating and working together. And again, the chemistry that you guys have on and off the lanes, certainly a big part of that success. But that's the big one. Even though it doesn't pay anything, that's the one that everybody's chasing, and the one that really holds the most prestige. That had to be pretty special.
It was very, very special, and this is kind of when we left there, I was leading all events and team, and who doesn't want to win the all events? You want to win anything, but and I never forget. I went. We were talking earlier, but I went to the last 10 days of the tournament there after we led for 2 months. And I got knocked out of the all events. Actually ended up going to third, which I actually felt better about because I didn't want to finish second. And it kind of took a little away from that week of winning. And I never forget, and I was up north on a fishing trip, and Gus had called me, and I said, man, he goes, Lenny, he said, listen, he goes, you won an Eagle. He says, you led our team to win that Eagle. He said, enjoy it while you can. And he was giving me, telling me, hey, don't worry about it. There'll be other opportunities and all that. And he was totally right. I don't want to say I was thinking about myself. I was obviously want to win the team more than anything, but kind of like Gus kind of perked me up after that week because it was kind of a bummer. You lead that long in anything and you lose, but it was so ecstatic that we hung on to win the all events. So thank God, team all events. So otherwise it'd have been another 10 years.
Well,
maybe. Yeah, but no, I can't say enough about my teammates that, all the success we had. It's unbelievable.
I don't want to say that Gus is a scary guy, but he's pretty scary, and I would not want to be the guy that bowls bad on that team.
Scares the hell out of me all the time. Well, Gus has been our leader for how many years, and he's the one that put our team together. He's the one that got it going. He had got us a great sponsor in Jeff Lynn. And God, we've been together since 92, right? 93, a couple changes with guys. Steve Brinkman was with us for a long time and one of my favorite guys to ever bowl with, had a lot of good success with the doubles and stuff, but it's just been a nice run for us. It's been really fun. And that year 2000 will always be special.
Now, you mentioned 2000 and leading the team, your scores 747 in teams, 667 in doubles, and actually your second 754 in singles. That's also the score you had in 86 to get to 2168. You mentioned 97, though, and having that close call. I'm sure that had to make 2000 even sweeter, knowing you had been that close before. But being on the other end of that, we kind of talked prior to the show, you had kind of taken over the lead and it had been most of the tournament and you're getting there those final few weeks. And then to find out that score had gotten beat, how tough was that? And once again, I'm sure that made the 2000 performance just that much better.
Yeah, it's depressing. I mean, it was so depressing in 97. Me and Steve led for, God, we usually bowled in March and we led till whatever, June or whatever. And it was like the last week. And then we got beat by two guys from up northern Wisconsin, Zubler and I forget the other guy's name. But yeah, so I don't know if that makes it even worse, but, yeah, it was just very depressing and just like, God, I'm never going to win, because we took second in team, once. And, it was like, yeah, we're so close. And yeah, it was kind of, and then, in the 2000, same thing, we led and then all the way to the end before we knew we won, it was so many good teams coming in at that time. And that's kind of when the computer came out so you could check the scores. And I remember checking it and all of a sudden, you see your name every day on top, and all of a sudden you turn it on, your name ain't on top. You talk about a happy feeling, boy. And I'm sure a lot of guys out there know what I'm talking about.
Well, when we get to 2009, definitely we'll get to talk about that a little bit and technology, the role that it has played in the wait for the Eagle. And now for you guys, it seems like every end of the decade is when it really kind of comes together for you. Some close calls there as you get toward the end. We mentioned 1989 already, and then 2000 after some success for the guys in 99, Trevor and Lever, and then we get to 2009 again, another decade later, and some magic happened in Las Vegas. That's always a fun one to talk about. Just looking at the numbers, the longest tournament in history at 154 days. 85 teams short of a record. And here come these old guys from Wisconsin. Now, we knew who you were, of course, from over the years and the success. And anybody who's even stepped foot in Wisconsin, the Mars Cheese Castle or White Castle or Castle Lanes, whatever it is, they know who you guys are. And here you come. And one of the most epic team events in the history of the OC. Again, the longest tournament in history. Just let that sink in. Almost the most teams we've ever had. And the title comes down to the same squad. you guys were 10 lanes apart. It was Lens Limited and Sacto, a group from California, Sacramento area, battling for the lead and eventually the eagle on that squad. And in the end, it was the experience that won out. We'll talk about the big picture and what that year meant to you guys individually and overall, but just that team event. Tell us about being in that moment. Did you know exactly what was happening? Were you scoreboard watching? We were there back and forth trying to figure it out. What's it going to come down to? And again, in the end, it was the experience that went out. But holy cow, what a night!
Yeah, that's just couldn't imagine. I never forget. It was weird, like it was magical. I can remember me and Gus, we were staying at the Suncoast and we were driving down Charleston to go bowl. I think it's Charleston. And we were driving there and we had a long ride, last stop and go. We pull up behind a car. It's an eagle nest on it. We're right behind it and there's a picture of this eagle on it. And Gus looks at me and I look at him and we go, no, because by that time we thought we were older and I thought our better days were done. Matter of fact, our best bowler had went on our companion team and Steve, and Darychevsky was coming back from being not allowed to bowl because of the tour. And, I don't know, but maybe that eagle just was a sign because that night was just unbelievable. I mean, that was probably the best team effort I've ever been part of. Individually, I was seeing the lane better than I think I've ever seen it, at the USBC that whole week. It was just weird. And to sit there and bowl with those guys to the right, and they were both going at it. And I got a little story about that, if you don't mind me sharing.
Absolutely.
Please do.
I got to be friends on the senior tour with Steve Smith. The Team USA bowler, Steve Smith from San Diego.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I did not know that, but he was on Sacto, the team that we were bowling against. And so we were talking last year. He goes, well, you ran it out in front of me when at the front eight, whatever. I go, I did? I go, man, I'm sorry. He goes, oh, my guys were kind of like, what? I can't believe you did that. And he said, I told him, go, he's having fun. Leave the guy alone. It was a pretty intense moment. I don't remember, running it out, or maybe it wasn't when I had the 300 game, but maybe it was toward the end of that last game. But yeah, it was pretty intense, and we were both hollering back and forth, and yeah, it was just crazy. But yeah, that was just quite the night, and like I said, we were just doing everything right. A guy I can't remember, strike out on the 10th, one of the games, and I came back and I told the guys, I said, move left. What do you mean? I go, I'm just telling you, they're starting to break down. I mean, that's how good we were all seeing the lanes together, even though I threw 3 strikes in the 10th. And I said, I'm moving in, now that's more common, and the kids are so much smarter nowadays and stuff, and the balls break down the lanes a lot quicker. But yeah, it was just crazy how we communicated that night and just rallied, and Gus rallied back that last game, which I'm old. I can't remember everything, as clear as I used to, but Gus was good. I think Gus told me he shot 258 the last game for like 620. Do you got that there, Matt?
We can check that out pretty quick.
Yeah, but he said he shot.
And for Gus in the team event, 199, 172, 256. So
I mean, what a game!
Definitely the closer.
Who was the closer? I mean, just can you imagine that? I mean, that's just telling you what kind of person Gus is, and I think most of us on our team, and especially Darychevsky, we're not quitters. We've never been quitters, and I think that's why we had a lot of success. We picked each other up and, hung tough together. We bowled as a team, and we were never the best team on paper, but we bowled team challenges, and we'd be pretty competitive, but we were good spare shooters. Most of us were decent spare shooters, and that kind of grinded us through those bad games until we kind of figured it out. And, and Darychevsky, what can you say about Darychevsky and his career, and and not a typical Nationals 4th arrow type style. I'll tell you what, you look at his record for for average. And you know, everybody knows Dale Trevor is good as right a second arrow, or especially off the corner. But I tell you what, I seen Dale strike a lot playing 4th, 5th arrow, and it was either a strike or a 5-pin, and maybe a 5-7. But I'm telling you what, he did not give up the puck, and he never does, and he just a fighter, you know. And then you got Gary Darychevsky, who, when he gets it going, he's as good as it gets, you know. And look at his career. What an inspiration, you know. And man, with all the injuries that poor guy has had the last 10 years, you know, and I seen him lip to the line and shoot 1950 a couple years ago, you know. And Matt, you've been around him enough to see that. But then you got Ryan Lever, who just always steady Ryan, you know, just a great teammate and always striving to succeed. So, I mean, even at our old age, you know, we still get pretty pumped up to go. But yeah, that year was just, it's unbelievable. And then we hung on to win both team and team all events. And that last game of team all events was like we were bowling team. And that was always like that when we were bowling good, even though we were bowling singles. And me and Stevie were like 3 or 4 pairs over. And it was like we were bowling team event, even though I was 5, 6 lanes over, you know. And to finish the way we did that year was just unbelievable.
Now, we mentioned the chemistry already, and this goes back many, many years. And really, you guys are 7 or 8 players deep, throwing some other names over the years, Nimke and Helm. And, you know, so you guys rolled into Las Vegas, again, with some personnel changes. Trevor's back. Lever steps in. Brinkman steps out. Again, interchangeable parts and all working together. Of course, that's what companion teams do, and the communication runs pretty deep there. But in the team event that night, you had 300 in game 2. You've been there before, so definitely want to talk about that for a minute and kind of compare 20 years apart. So you had the first one, something that meant a lot to you, of course, had been close a couple of years before that. How is the second time different, especially knowing that the team was bowling well, that things were unfolding perhaps? You know, it was kind of already pretty obvious at that point. But tell the difference between the first 300 and the second one. It's a very short list, couple dozen bowlers, 3 dozen bowlers with multiple 300s at the OC. And to do it 20 years apart, it had to feel like a lifetime and probably felt completely different.
Yeah, it was pretty special because, I mean, you know, get 1 300 at the USBC, which is probably the ultimate 300. It doesn't get any better than that. Come back and get it a second time, especially to help your team propel, you know, to that last game. It was special because, you know, we needed every pin. And at the time, I'm not thinking really, I'm just trying to get one more. But I can't lie, when I got up to that last frames, I go, man, it'd be pretty cool to be on that short list of people that did it twice, you know. And fortunately, I struck and was able to get it, you know. And the rest is history as far as we went on the next game and bowled well again. But yeah, it was pretty special. It's pretty special to do it again. I never thought I'd do it again. I should say never thought. I mean, you know, you always think you can, but, you know, I mean, it doesn't take much not to carry 1 or 2 here or there, you know, for sure. So.
Well, I think Lenny 2009 is far different in that moment than Lenny 1989, knowing at that point that things could be happening, that you need to get Gus and everybody on the same page, that, you know, it's not about you and your momentum, but it's about getting the team caught up. Right. And then to be able to finish with another big game. You guys shot 1150, but again, the experience coming into play there to stay in that moment, you know, let the 300 go for the time being, focus on the task, and then knowing that these young kids or younger kids are 10 lanes away, it ended up coming down to 22 pins of a difference. Again, on the same squad of the longest tournament ever. It was a phenomenal evening, but how do you stay composed and rally the team at that time to get that job done? And then we'll talk about how you stay focused going into day 2.
Well, you know, after the 300 was done, I was back to business. You know, I mean, it's we got a chance here. You know, we got a chance to win. You know, I mean, 300s are 300s. You know, and it's great, and And at the time, I was ecstatic and all that. But yeah, it's about the team, though. You know, it's about winning, and you know, and like I said, we took over the lead a few times and didn't win. You know. But we posted a pretty good number, and we were all throwing, you know, things were looking good here, you know. So, I mean, yeah, you just forget about it, move on to the next game, try to keep your guys going. It's about the team. It's definitely about the team. And but yeah, then the next day, man, that was.
Now, you guys definitely aren't known for being the speediest guys at the Open Championship. So we get to spend a lot of quality time on the lanes and watching and talking, and sometimes well into the next squad. So the team event, things get done pretty late, and you guys have to bowl the next night. So plenty of time for us to do what we need to do and the photos and the whole thing.
Yeah.
But again, the experience, you guys know how important day 2 can be, especially with a head start like that. You shot 34.49, which is very, very far from the eventual team all events number that actually threatened the record at the time for team all events. So what do you do at that point to refocus, take the next 20 hours or so to get your heads right and come back and make your run the next day? Because the next day potentially was even more phenomenal than the night before.
Play a lot of video poker. Kind of relaxes me a little bit. No, I mean, that was sleep in, just relax pretty much. Yeah, play a little video poker, just to kill time. And it's very hard because you're so anxious to get back on those lanes. And it's such a late time you go back out there. That's probably one of the hardest things. But your adrenaline kind of takes over. But yeah, it was just kind of lay around and stare at the ceiling most of that day, waiting to bowl. I'm not much to go bowl like a bowler's journal, stuff during that day, especially it's, you're older then, and just try to relax and try to rest is about all you can do. But oh yeah, your stomach's turning. You can't wait to get back on the lanes. You're thinking about what happened last night, so you didn't sleep good that whole night. We didn't get done till what, Matt? Probably 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. probably. And then you collect whatever you might have won and celebrate a little bit, and then it's just try to get back to business. But yeah, it's like a lot of times at the Open Championships when things are going good, I don't really sleep much. It's just that half sleep, and I'm still that way in some big tournaments too. But yeah, it was very, very hard to sleep that night and have to come back and bowl at 11 o'clock at night. But I think the adrenaline kind of just takes over. Then just rest the body and try to get a couple nods of sleep here and there, and go attack again, and that's pretty much what we did. Just kind of chilled.
And again, ton of fun to watch the next day as well, watching these 5 guys or 8 guys work together to make things happen. You went on to bowl the highest all events total of your career. You also made enough prize money in that event, I think, to pay for 2 years at college for one of your kids. So just a record year all around, and then to go ahead and take the individual all events lead again and lead the team to what is the highest team all event score of this century so far, and making a run at the all-time record. Again, the experience, no doubt, and the chemistry and the camaraderie. But tell us about that night, which did go almost until the sun came up, and we'll talk about that here in a minute as well. But this is probably 4 o'clock in the morning that we took this photo. But what a night. And again, coming off of the team event, and then to see it all fall into place, everybody bowled great, very memorable. Tell us about day 2 of the 2009 Open Championships.
Well, like I said a little bit earlier, it was like we were bowling as a team. I was kind of odd. I was the odd guy out, so I was over a little bit. And, I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on. And we get done with singles, and I hear the number, and I'm like, wow, this is good. Gus is, come on, buddy, come on, us. We just keep going. He'd walk down, and I'd walk down, and trying to keep, and we just kind of bowled together as a team. But the moment to get done with that and to realize what we had shot, I was like, oh my God, and then we felt pretty comfortable about that. And it was kind of, we got done pretty late. Matter of fact, there's a couple that watches me bowl in Vegas all the time when I'm out there. I didn't even get to say goodbye to them, but I think they left it. By the time we got done, it was probably 4 a.m. Mm-hmm. And the funny part was, Matt, is I had to catch a 7 a.m. flight to Orlando. Jacob was playing. My whole family was in Orlando. Jacob was playing high school baseball tournament down there. So that was kind of the only bummer about it. I collected my bracket money and and jumped on a bus and, and hit the airport. Didn't really get to really let it soak in. So I was actually down in Florida when the phone started popping, and did a couple interviews with the local bowling shows or whatever, radio stations and stuff. But yeah, just like, I was really kind of bummer about it. I didn't really get to celebrate with my team after that point, but it didn't matter. We won, and that was all that mattered. And we left there in the lead, and here we are, potentially put most of us in the Hall of Fame, anyway, so far. So yeah, what a great tournament. I mean, my God, without that week, I'm not on the show and we're not really talking about, what happened, but yeah, it's just a magical week, magical year. And especially at our age at that time, because let's see, 2009, I'm 48, right? Yep. 48. And, Gus is 52, Gary's 52, we're all I'm the youngest one on the team, so yeah, to come in there and to come in there like that, yeah, it was pretty special.
Well, and for you guys to be able to stay up that late too, that was really part of the challenge. But as we're having that conversation, and I had that in my notes here for Aaron, as far as you having to hustle out of there to get to the baseball tournament, it's all part of the experience and the story. And the number that you put up, 22-23, again the highest of your career, a winning score in most years at the Open Championships. Team all events number 10,372. Wow, again, highest of this century. The record 10,425. So you guys were pretty close, but we really didn't know at that time. It was still early April, the kind of year that event would turn out to be, with record scores in all events and singles and doubles. So you had a few minutes at least in this technology era of online leaderboards to keep an eye on things. And it really was only about 10 days later when the wait for you, at least individually, came to an end. A friend of yours, somebody that you helped with some equipment and some advice, and Aaron has some thoughts on that. So I don't want to steal his thunder here. So I'll let him kind of lead you into it, and then we'll talk about losing the all events lead, and then what the rest of that wait was like for team and team all events.
Yeah, and Matt, don't be shy. It's Ron Vokes. That's who you're talking about. Well, before that, Dave, on the national scene, a lot of folks got to learn about Ron, and as Matt mentioned, the technology being a little bit different, news getting passed around a little bit quicker. I'm sure all of a sudden, he finishes off that 857 and news and 23-21, and 22-23 is a massive number at the OC. So how did you feel about, obviously the team stuff is always number one for most folks, but had to feel pretty good about that all events number. But when you heard Ron and then you heard his score, what were your initial impressions of that moment? And obviously, you guys finished 1-2, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, what was it like the first time hearing about Ron's big day?
Well, I'll never forget, I was bowling a regional in Madison at the time. And to be honest with you, I knew the team, and I knew the team all events had a really good chance to win. And, I knew that was – I really liked our chances on that. And I guess I'm always the guy. I always think there's somebody better out there. I know that. I'm not stupid. I know it was a score to win, but you got to remember, as we talked earlier, I went 2 weeks to the last – there were 2 tournaments. I went to the last week or 2 and got beat, and it was very, very, very heartbreaking. So to be honest with you, I didn't get my hopes up too high, even though I knew it was a good score. But I knew, we had the team. We were, I was leading 3 events. So, worst case scenario, if chances are you might get beat out of one of them. I never forget. I was bowling, and Ken Duffield came up to me. He goes, "Did you hear? You're getting ready to go on the lanes." I go, "No." He goes, "Volk shot 23-21." And I'm like, "Really? Again? All the guys that got to beat you, another guy But you know what, though? How can you not be happy for anybody to shoot a score like that? I mean, my God. Is it a bummer? I'd like to have won, don't get me wrong, but, Ronnie's a friend, and my God, that's just a number, and So I was very happy for him, to be honest with you. I was a little disappointed. I can't lie, but at that time, I didn't get my hopes up too high, and it was early enough where I think it didn't hurt as bad. If it would have went again another 2 months, it might have been a crappy feeling, But no, I was happy for him. Anybody gets experience in winning a USBC championship, my God, I mean, you got to be happy for him, And I've been fortunate to be around a lot of people that have, drone balls for them and stuff like that around Racine, Kenosha areas. So, yeah, you got to, hats off to him. That's a score, man. 20, I pulled as best as I could. You can't control what other people do. You just got to do what you can do. And, hats off to Ronnie. That was just a great year. Of course, it had to be Ronnie, but no, I was very happy for him.
So, Aaron, before we move on to talk about the 3 months after, Ronnie Vokes came in and took the lead, I will say that our conversation earlier today about my new role with the Hall of Fame committee, the staff liaison, it looks like we're having a committee meeting right now looking at the chat room with all the superstars who are in there. Just want to shout out to some of them: Steve Brinkman, Keith Dunphy, Gus Norris, Del Ballard Jr. checking in as well, Craig Elliott, the live stream Hall of Fame. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. Of course, you're here for Lenny. We understand that. But thank you for joining in and stopping in the chat as well. And Gus, you absolutely are a scary individual, and we'll talk some more about the after party here in a few minutes. But Lenny, tell us about the months that followed. You guys have made the weight before, as you said. You've gotten down to the last couple of weeks, but you felt pretty good about the numbers, even with some of the other numbers happening that year. With one eagle already, to your credit, talk about waiting out the next two in 2009 and with, again, the online leaderboards and social media and every other avenue that you have to hear the bad news. What was it like waiting to the very end?
Oh, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. It's the worst. It's exciting, but you're just waiting to get punched in the gut again, And but no, it wasn't as bad. Just because I thought we were gonna. Chances are, I would have hurt if we'd have lost, the lead there with 3 events and go home with nothing. But I really liked our chances on the team all events. I really thought that team could be attainable, just because when we bowled that night, we had to beat out another team on the same night, and a lot of good teams are yet to come. And, it's pretty hard to wait it out. You just want to, this to get over. It's like you never push for time to go by fast, especially when you get older. But man, it was a long wait, but what a thrill. I mean, just the thrill and the share with guys, with your team. And, like I said earlier, don't get me wrong, I'd love to win the individual stuff, but there's nothing better than winning as a team and the bigger share with your teammates. And we got together, we celebrated a little bit, and and there's nothing better getting that call from Matt Canizero saying, congratulations, you're a winner. And it's really weird. I remember when you called me, I don't know where the hell I was, but I was probably on the road or something, but yeah, it's nothing better than that phone call. And it would be great to experience that again, and I know chances probably Father Time's not on my side and our side, but hey, you never know, a few years ago we made a nice little run in Vegas, and you never know.
A couple of bionic hips and some new wrists, and you guys would be good as new. Yeah. But from my perspective,
can I give a shout out to Del Ballard? I just want to give Del, of course. He's going through some tough times right now with a little jaw reconstruction. So I just want to I talked to him earlier today. I just want to give a shout out. Keep him in your prayers. He's doing well though. What he's saying, but tough recovery for that guy. But anyway, yeah.
We do. We love Del Ballard. We got some good OC stories about him as well. When he's feeling better, maybe we'll tell those stories.
Yeah, he's got good stories.
As this one continues, a unique opportunity for me to see it all the way through. I was there for the team event. I was there for doubles and singles. Made the phone calls when it was all over, and had the honor of bringing a suitcase full of eagles to Wisconsin. And there's no party like a Wisconsin party, and then you throw in some eagles and some bowlers and an open bar. and it's a good time. But there's the whole crew. Again, 2 Eagles for everybody. Team and team all events, and of course Ron Vokes winning as well. So he's able to be part of that. But to be invited to present those Eagles, an absolute honor to these guys. Again, I would not say no to Gus in any circumstances, of course. But to sit at the table with Mr. Lind and to be able to give those Eagles out and be there, and luckily, hopefully, Aaron doesn't have any of those photos post as well. But this night, Lenny, this is as you said, what potentially solidified the Hall of Fame right now for 4 of you guys, and eventually potentially 5 with Ryan Lever being the one who's next in line.
Yeah, it was a special night, especially to have our sponsor come down. Jeff and his wife, and it was cool. Jeff was such a great sponsor. Jeff Lind, he sponsored us, God, and till we were almost crippled and couldn't bowl. Until actually went on until he sold the company. So it was very special to have him down there and give us the support. And he would come to a few tournaments with us a few times. We'd hang out. But yeah, that was a special night. Like I said, having him there, all us guys together, and to be able to actually have those birds in your hand, and every once in a while I go in the basement and look at them and just appreciate them, and which I'm sure everybody that's ever won one does. But yeah, it was just a special night, and you're amongst your peers in the Milwaukee Association that night, and you came down, and yeah, it was just like you said, it solidified it for sure.
Well, now you mentioned Gary and some of the health things and things that he's been going through, and I think he's been retiring for like the last 25 years at least, but always comes out and finds a way to shoot the big numbers. And then in 2012, with the outstanding USBC performance category for the USBC Hall of Fame, a year in already, you and Gary get to go into the Hall of Fame together in 2012, followed closely by Dale in 2014 and Gus in 2015. Not a lot of teams can boast having multiple members, let alone 4 in the Hall of Fame. Talk about, first of all, that induction night for you and Gary going in together, and then to have your teammates welcomed in within a couple of years as well.
Well, I tell you what, it was a special night, obviously, to be inducted, even get that call, to be inducted, but to go in with Gary. And that was probably one of the greatest nights of my life. And I said that when I was there next to being married and the birth of my children. Actually, I just flew in from Florida. I bowled my first PBA 50 event. I turned 50 on April 19th and ended up winning my first pro tournament down at the Villages in Florida. Got done, grabbed a plane, went and got inducted in the Hall of Fame. I mean, you couldn't write the story any better than that, And I had friends that surprised me and drove up, made the trip to Texas. But yeah, and my teammates were there, and going with Gary, and who I idolized as a kid, because Gary's older than me. He don't look older, but he's older than me. But as a kid, when you're watching my stepfather Bob Larson and bowl, and Gary's, you're 15, 16, and you're watching Gary, who's 19, 20, and just tearing up the scene, So he was one of the guys I've always looked up to, and just to be able to bowl with him for all those years, and still bowl with him, it was just a special night to go in with him. And then obviously, we're just, the next years were coming, and you knew Dale, Gus, and Ryan and Steve have all had Hall of Fame careers, so it'd be nice to see all them guys get in there. And then the Dale. It was kind of special. Me and Dale were rooming on the tour, and things were tight then, and he flew me out. His mom wasn't doing well, and he flew me out as his companion, but I thought it was very special, to come out and make sure that I was there to watch him go in the Hall. And then you got Gus, who, God, Gus was best man at my wedding. Tell you how tight we are. And enjoy his special night too, and it was trying times. I almost missed that night, but thank God I didn't. My dad was not doing well, but so that always sticks with me that night for Gus, that special night.
Well, I remember at the Eagle presentation, a lot of talk about senior, as they called him, and what all of that meant for him. And can you talk just a little bit about that? And again, you mentioned Mr. Larson and some of the inspiration there, but for as well known and well respected as your dad was in the community, that was a big night for him as well.
Well, my dad, for my night.
Yeah, for the Eagle presentation for sure in 2009, and just kind of.
Oh yeah, he was pretty excited about it. Then the guys love my dad. We would actually when we traveled a lot in Bold, we'd keep like a little kitty, and Gus would always make sure my dad would come to the tournament. My dad was kind of a character, and he kind of kept us pretty loose when we bowled these team challenges and nationals, because he would just fire on Trevor just nonstop. I mean, my God, he would just pick on him, and there literally a few times until Dale would get pretty pissy. but my dad was kind of a clown. He kept us loose. I think the guys would pay his way to come with us, so yeah, he was actually kind of a small part of our success, and we still tell stories about, we'll never forget, we were bowling the team challenge in Vegas. Quick story. And Bill Supper was there, and at the time we were with Ebonite, and Dale was with Ebonite. And my Dale bowled pretty bad in Vegas. In the team challenge, we bowled pretty good. And my dad goes to Bill Supper, or goes to Dale Trevor. He goes, Bill Supper goes, did Ebonite ever see you bowl, Dale? I mean, he would give him stuff like that, call him pork chops and, stuff like that. But Dale loved him, we had a lot of good times. But yeah, he was a big inspiration for me, and he was a traveling companion to the Midwest region, and yeah, we miss him, we a lot of laughs. But yeah, it's him, and then Senior and Brinkman would go out and have a few beers here and there. He liked to. I'll never forget, we were in Virginia Beach and we lost them. We had some good stories. But yeah, a lot of laughs with my dad.
Well, definitely it gives us a perfect segue at this point in the show. Based on 2009 being the double Eagle performance, and looking at history and just general math, you guys, we expect you to be in the conversation moving forward, but we didn't really expect anything special for another 7 or 8 years, just based on the consistency of your careers, and it was pretty much that. It was almost those 8 or 9 years later that you kind of transitioned your role a little bit, and you get to share this special stage with your own son.
Yeah.
So again, passing on that tradition, and in the right time frame, some magical things happened around 2017, 18. Tell us about that, and getting to welcome him into the Lens Limited, Classic Lens, Lens Kids, whatever you guys are calling yourself these days. But this is a pretty special year and a breakout performance for Jacob on the big stage too.
Yeah, Jacob had a couple good nationals. I think he's had like 2 2100s, and that was one of the years. And that was the year he took over the lead. But yeah, to be able to share that with him, I mean, I think, the kids love us. Jake's team, they love being around us. They still want to bowl with us, and I think we've been a little bit of a kind of a role model type guy, and Gus ain't afraid to tell him what he thinks, and I think they respect him, and they listen to him, and they'll come take advice from me, and I'll take advice from them. I mean, even though they see things a lot different, but I think it was the funnest part. I thought was when Jacob first went to nationals, when he first crossed with us, is when you go into the paddock and you're waiting, and all of a sudden they start announcing, and you start seeing these kids' heads turn, and then we get on the lays, and they're like, wow, and I hope that was kind of an inspiration for them to want to succeed and stuff like that. But yeah, nothing gets more special than bowling with your son doubles, and the year to son of a gun though. He's always holding me up though. I got to change that around. I got to give him some help one of these years. But yeah, it was. It's you can't beat it. You get to bowl your son at the nationals, and then when we took over the lead, and never forget. I bowled kind of a crappy last game that one year. We still took over the lead, and Jake, he was yelling at us, kind of like, like this. Yeah, we just took over the lead. I go, yeah, you're right. But I wanted to give him more, a little more help. We knew we weren't going to win because we bowled early, but I think we had like 13 something. I don't think I bowled great, but because he bowled so good, and but yeah, some of the moments too. I never forget the one year we bowled doubles, and Jacob might have been the first year he bowled or second year he bowled, and we got a good game, and we got a really good game going the second game. We got like 500, and I get up in the 10th, and I look, I go, my God, we both can strike out for like 520. We'd have only needed like 4 or whatever the last game to take out a lead. Well, I get up, I go through the nose 3, 6, 10, and Jake gets up in Greek church, and he just couldn't shake it off after that, So we went from having a great time where it was almost like I'm like, Jake, let it go, let it go. So it's been fun watching these guys grow, these kids grow, and I think, sometimes you learn more from a bad experience than you do a good experience, So I think Jacob knows, and now that, hey, you got to forget about it's like being a baseball pitcher. You got to forget about it and move on, But yeah, we had some nice runs, we didn't end up good that last game. We both kind of fell apart, but yeah, we've had some good starts, a lot of fun, some sometimes butt heads a little bit, but you know what? We've had some success, and it's fun watching those kids grow and evolve as a team and just get better and better and better. And hopefully we're a little part of that, bringing them along the way, or showing them the ropes, I guess, a little bit. But, it's fun. It's fun crossing with those guys.
Well, for anyone who hasn't seen Jake bowl yet, he is definitely going to be a threat here at the Open Championships for a long time to come. Throws it phenomenally well. But 2017, as you mentioned, was very early in the tournament. He puts up a big number, 21-22, to take over the lead, and he held on to that number for
quite a while,
top spot for quite a bit. And one of the things we always hear from people who are competitors and like coaches, that sometimes it's it's more nerve-wracking to watch for someone else than to watch the scores for yourself. So as that month or two went by and he was still leading, how was that for you, being the dad in that situation and the coach? And I obviously tremendously proud of him, but how was that time for you, just watching that scores, wondering could the speed that win?
It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I want him to win. When I'm bowling with Jacob, I want him to do way better than I ever thought of doing, as I know how hard he works at it and how bad he wants it. But yeah, it was kind of a score that you thought, well, you don't know, maybe, but he kept leading and leading and leading. And it started getting kind of in that time of the year that, he's got a chance. I remember talking to Timmy Mack, and he goes, hell yeah, he's got a chance, and then people are saying, oh yeah, he's got a chance. And I go, well, yeah, he keeps leading after a couple months, and all of a sudden, it was like, wow, I really want this for him, Like I said earlier with, Tom Mulroney, anybody experience a win at the USBC championship, it doesn't get any better than that, it's up there with anything. And and I'm sure he will get another cracks at it. I'm absolutely positive he will.
Sure,
but what a tough, that is tough. I think they say when it's harder watching, it is harder watching as a parent, and even waiting that out. And I never forget, he texted me, and all of a sudden my phone would start blowing up about 2 a.m, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? Dad, I'm going to get beat tonight. And I never forget, a couple of times he didn't, but then one time he did, and we were watching, and the next thing I'm watching, and it was, Brad Angelo had beat him out that night. And I think he eventually ended up third, but Brad had beat him out that night. And I said, Jake, you lost to a pro. You lost to a good bowler. I mean, you got nothing to be ashamed of. And I think he was kind of a little bummed out for, maybe a day, but you can't take away what you did, man. The finishing the top 20 in all events is pretty impressive, but to shoot 2,100, and what are you going to do? You get beat. It's part of the game, it's part of it's part of what happens. It's just, it would have been nice to see him hang on, but
Well, as you described earlier, though, it's those close calls and that, going to the wire, really, that those are the inspirational moments. That's how it worked for your career. You had the close calls, and then it finally happened when it was time. But I think you definitely, as you said, you learn from those moments, and that makes you want it even more. It makes it mean even more to you. So I think he needs to, unfortunately, lose that one maybe to learn a bigger lesson than if he'd gone all the way and win. I think you'd probably agree there. And if you had any advice for the youngsters, it'd probably be something along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you gotta just bowl. You can't overthink stuff. You just gotta bowl. You gotta listen to your teammates. There's so many factors. The dog.
The eagle jumped off the table.
Unplugged me. But there's so many factors into winning an eagle. And you can't win if you don't get in. You just got to keep knocking at that door, and hopefully you'll learn, and and you got to be lucky a little bit too. You got to be fortunate. Things got to go your way. I mean, I'm going to talk about me. I want to change the subject, but I've had chances to win, and you're hit away. And wasn't that long ago. But yeah, it's just, you got to get the breaks too, and things got to go your way. And the only way to make that happen, to have a little luck on your side, I always thought bowling is to put yourself in that position. You can't be lucky if you're not in that position. You can't win a title and trip a four if you're not in that position, or maybe the guy misses, but you got to be in that position. You can't say you're unlucky or you got to be at least in the hunt to be able to have a chance. You can't win unless you take over the lead when you leave. So,
well, no, that said, perfect timing once again, Lenny. You're ready to teach the youngsters kind of how the OC works, but I don't think you're ready to hand it over just yet. As we saw in 2018, another Aaron Smith story, late night, and you had another crack at it, and again, you're maybe not ready to transition out just yet. But Aaron, take us through that night and the highest single score of Lenny's career.
Yeah, that was, and I think you kind of you set it up perfectly, Lenny. You got to put yourself in those positions to, make a run at 800, make a run at the lead, and you did just that in singles in Syracuse. It was, I believe, 280 and 279 out of the gates, and then down the stretch as you were making a run at the first 800 of the year, and I think the number for the lead was 771 at the time. So you didn't need too big of a game, but right. Those hits didn't come. You had a few 4 pins. 10 pin in the ninth, kind of ended the run at 800, but another top 10 finish, and that ended up being a late night too for us, because I believe you and Gus took over the doubles lead over at the Bowlers Journal.
Yes. So
after we got you guys settled at the bracket booth and all that, we knocked out some photos. I think that was about 4:30 in the morning or so. So that was definitely memorable moment for me to watch, and it's always fun to see the guys who have had success kind of put themselves in those positions again, just because, it's in 2009, I was working the women's championships. I wasn't there. I didn't get to live the moment like Matt did. So for me, it's cool to, kind of see this moment kind of unfurl, see what these players do in these situations. And it was super fun, even though I think I was still working on the story when Matt showed up the next morning. But
yeah, he probably were. In fact, we went at the breakfast, started driving home. We're like, we might as well just start driving home. It was 6 in the morning.
But that performance had to be fun, especially the day before you got to see Jacob get the watch presentation for his third place finish. I'm sure that trip and that performance had a memorable feel to it as well.
Yeah, it was a great trip. We went and seen the Baseball Hall of Fame, and we did that. But anyway, that night we both teamed. My goal is, I don't know, when you got this average, you got to live up to it. I feel like, that's always my goal. It'd be nice to have all events. That's always in the back of my head, or whatever my average is at the Nationals. I want to try to stay up there as long as I'm not going to lie. But I know sooner or later a bad tournament's going to come. It's just part of the game. But I've been, knock on wood, fortunate. I've been able to hang in there pretty good. So anyway, bowl team event that time, and I had like 570 with 230 the last game. It was a rough night for all of us. And I was actually kind of ecstatic. I got 570. But then the next day I come out and I got a shot. I got the front 7 in a row on the first game of doubles. I'm playing off the corner where I like to play. It's looking good. I think I got 570 again with the front 7 start out doubles, or 580, 590. Like, oh man. I went through every ball I had. And I look at Jacob. He goes, well, Dad, try the IQ. And I'm like, nah, I said, what do I got to lose? And I just started throwing it hard and straight. And guys, it was just unbelievable how I just started striking, because even when I was bowling at doubles, I was hitting the pocket. I could not strike. Even Tom Hess, a friend of mine, happened to be coming in. He's just shaking his head back there, It was just one of those things. It was right lane I could not strike on. But I took this ball out and talk about, wow, next thing you know, I couldn't miss. And, so that was pretty cool. I just started throwing hard and straight. And biggest disappointment, you talk about, getting yourself, but I had the front 4 the last game and stone an 8, which ultimately would have made the difference if I would have struck there, but who knows what would happen later, but all I want to do is get 800. I never had 800 at the ABC. I figure, well, just try to get all you can, but 800 was what I really like to do. That's one of my goals yet to do at nationals. And that was probably my best chance that I might ever have. But and then it ended up being that close, that really 20 pins or whatever it was. And another local guy beat me out.
Yeah.
Local guys beat me out all the time, these are Wisconsin guys. But yeah, so it was fun, and sure enough, I shot 780 and got my average for the 9 games. So I was ecstatic about that. So we're pretty close to it. So, but yeah, so that was pretty exciting. Yeah, and it just, it's really weird. And me and Bo Gorgon talked about it, and Gus one time at dinner, where I've had some really nice grooves at nationals, and it's almost like we all felt this way. It's almost like we got into a zone. Yeah, and that day I got into that zone where I didn't even know what was going on around. And I've had it a few times at the nationals where I just knew I was going to strike pretty much. It just really felt good. And Bo, we talked about that, and he's had that happen a couple of times when he won. And Gus, of course, we talk all the time. But yeah, it's just kind of a feeling that you can't explain. I've had it in other tournaments too, and I'm sure every bowler probably has had that feeling. You just kind of getting that ozone or whatever it is. But yeah, it was pretty special, especially at that time, and getting older now, and so it was fun to take over the lead and talk to you and keep you out till 5 in the morning. So.
I appreciate it. Kept me out of trouble.
Well, now that one, of course, didn't pan out, but again, some good lessons about listen to your kid, every once in a while, and I honestly, I don't know how there's not a line out the door for the late doubles and singles squad after watching the things that the Lens team has done over the last 20 or 30 years. So maybe that'll change now, and everybody's going to want to bowl at 11:30, 11:45, but we'll see there. But you mentioned being in the zone and just kind of in your own little world, and you've gotten to experience that not only at the OC, but on the PBA 50 tour and with Team USA. 3 very similar but incredibly different things as well. The PBA 50 titles, the Eagles, and then the gold medals for Team USA, part of a three-peat in the team event. We got to take that to Las Vegas not too long ago. It's been about a year now. And is it even possible to compare all these things? And I know the moment, the zone, it's all probably a little bit similar, but as far as what those moments mean and those accomplishments mean, can you compare and sum them up?
Well, I thought about this because I figured you might ask me what it is, what would be, and you could ask that, when you fill out resumes for Team USA, what's your biggest accomplishment? God, they're all special in their own way. And they're all kind of different in their own way. To me, the USBC tournament, the OC championships is a whole different bowling. PBA 50 is a whole different bowling. The world team was kind of a different bowling. It's kind of they're all unique in their own way. And God, what a thrill all of them are. To have success at them. But I wouldn't be lying if it wasn't be able to tell you it hasn't been a thrill to bowl doubles with Johnny Petraglia in the World Championships, to bowl on the same team as Walter Ray Williams and Parker Bone and Ron Moore and Bob Learn. And then in Canada, bowl with Steve Badovich and Bob Learn again and Warren Eels. God, there's a special bond that gets created there. And then get to know the ladies as well and the camaraderie and to get to know the foreign countries, the bowlers there over the years. And, I wish it would never end, but I'm obviously going to apply again and hopefully be chosen again. But, yeah, to win that, stand up on that pedestal and get that gold medal, my God, it doesn't get any – it's a whole different world, and it's pretty hard to compare that to anything else, to be honest with you. When they're playing that national anthem and you're standing up there and the tears are rolling down your eyes and, and my God, and that's another one to share it as a team, that – Matt, you were there with us, and I told you all along, it's all about the team. I don't want to be the guy that, lose the team for the United States of America. I want to rally these guys, and we're proud of that. Yeah, it was special. And then anything else, medals was bonus. The PBA 50, it's cool because I competed against guys I didn't get a chance to bowl as much against when I was younger, and having success, winning a few times, leaves that doubt in the back of my head that maybe I felt I could have competed with those guys back in the 90s and 80s and whatever. Maybe I would have won, because I'm bowling against the same guys that were there then, most of them. So that's a pretty fulfilling feeling and keeps me at peace, where if I didn't bowl, things didn't go well and I couldn't bowl again. I've had a great career and, can't complain. I've been blessed. Like I said early on, I'm very blessed. And just the cool people you meet and, over the years and get to bowl with and hang out with and, and all the stuff you bowl and, it's pretty cool.
So now you're pushing 60 years old, right? And things are still going pretty well, and we're still having gold medal conversations and still in contention on the PBA 50 tour. But right now, an unexpected slowdown in everything. But again, you got the extra time with the family. But looking ahead to 2021, hopefully, you mentioned if it was all over tomorrow, you'd be okay with how the career went. But since you're seeming to be on the up and up and proving that you still have a little bit of magic left, talk about the goals, the expectations moving ahead 2021, not only for the OC but in general, and maybe what you learned during this time as far as maybe not taking things for granted, but really taking advantage of the opportunities and the success that you have.
Well, you got a few more goals. I'd obviously love to win an Eagle with my son. The doubles Eagle will be, so I don't know how many more opportunities we'll get for that. He's probably going to move on, bowl with some better younger bowlers eventually. But as far as like the PBA 50, I'm a major title away to be senior eligible for the Hall of Fame there. So that's kind of in the back of my head that, if I could somehow manage to win again, which I know is not easy. That's always in the back of my head. That'd be one goal to obviously win again. But, the Hall of Fame, I think it's 8 titles or 5 titles with 2 majors. I guess I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I could win. So, but I know Father Time is not on my side, and it really is kind of a bummer that we lost this whole year, me and a lot of guys, because, like I said, Father Time ain't on our side, and who knows what next year is going to bring. But when I turn 60, I'll be a super senior. So. But yeah, I know it ain't getting any easier, guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm a realistic person. But, I still feel like when it's my day, I can bowl with anybody. So I'm not giving up. I'm not quitting until I can't. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and and who knows what tomorrow brings.
All right, now before we transition out and let you get out of here to go practice for the Super Senior Classic, we'll wrap up with just talking about the Open Championships once again. It's been nearly 40 years for you. That's what this show is all about. Tell us what it is about the OC and being there and the experience, and what makes it so special and what makes you come back every year. And if you had to tell somebody, just a couple of the highlights, why should you bowl in this tournament? What are those things? And when you walk out to the lanes and you see the Eagles and the designations next to your name, and do you still get the same butterflies you got in the 1980s?
Oh my God. I'm more nervous bowling that tournament than I am any tournament that I ever bowl. It's unbelievable experience. And I tell everybody around the pro shop, I said, you got to at least go once to see the high ceilings. And you're like that. That was the first thing that stuck out to me was the high ceilings and you're bowling like wow, this is like different. And the booths and the atmosphere and the national anthem and, just everything about it. Just a big stage. And I think everybody needs to do that at least once. And I'm actually an advocate for the divisions that they came out with. I know a lot of the better players are a little, whatever, but I think it's more fair to a lot of bowlers that went there for a lot of years that had no chance to win. I think that makes it a little more appealing maybe to, to them to come bowl, the bowlers that, because let's face it, guys, there's only 1,000 teams that maybe got a chance to win, and now it's nice that I kind of like what they have done a little bit with that. Maybe not everything about it, but, I know they're trying to make it more successful. So I do like a lot of the changes that were made. And a lot of people might not like me for saying that, but it's my opinion. But I think, one time in the walk out there, see the Eagles and just the whole atmosphere about it and the booths and just, and for me to go out there and you walk out, like I said, I'm a nervous wreck until after about 4 shots of practice and a couple frames in. And the biggest goal I have is not to start with an open, just try to get off my hand. My hand's sweating so bad. And it's just horrible at first. And I still, to this day, get that nervous energy going, and makes it tough, especially a team event, especially now you get so used to, I don't bowl 5-man anymore. And it's like, oh, hurry up, let's go, But it's just, but you know what? That's what makes it fun. That's what makes you enjoy the experience even more. And it's a good way to measure a bowler's, see how really good they are. Because that's the first thing. How does he do at nationals? Or what'd you shoot at nationals? Years ago you could lie and hide it, but now everybody can see what you got. But you know what I mean? Seriously, that's how people get measured, and you're bowling on a challenging condition and, a good team effort. It pays to go with good bowlers. Try to get 5 good guys together, 10 good guys, try to play the pattern right, try to break it down right, good communication. But for anybody, I don't care if you're a 150 bowler, you got to experience at least one time in your life. And you get to see some cool places and that new stadium at Vegas is cool. Reno's awesome. I just think it's just a great experience. I think everybody should definitely do it.
So I like to get that first open frame out of the way real quick. Takes a lot of the pressure off, 30 cleans out of the way, jackpots are done, then you can focus on just bowling and having a good time. And certainly we had a good time today. Lenny, catching up with you, breaking down nearly 40 years of OC competition. Certainly could have gone on much longer and, talking about some more highlights and stories. And again, there's always the stories that we can't tell here on Bowl TV. That's for Bowl TV After Dark. We joke, but who knows? That could be right around the corner. Aaron, before we say goodbye to Mr. Boresch, any final thoughts for today and some of the great things that you've gotten to experience with this group of Lynn's Limited bowlers?
Well, Matt, we didn't talk too much about the Team USA stuff, but the senior championships in 15 was my first opportunity to work an event. I wasn't necessarily part of Team USA. I was just there covering the event, but, I had heard from other colleagues, heard from you, just, what it's like to, see a group with Team USA with the red, white, and blue on their backs. Yes, the jersey we're trying to show there, Matt. And, I had not experienced that in person yet. So, for me, that's one of the things where I still get kind of goosebumps on the arm thinking about, that was the first time. You can see it a million times on TV or, in other venues, but to see it happen in person, the 2015 event, definitely one of the highlights of my career working for USBC. So knowing Lenny had a little part of that always makes it pretty awesome for me. So, but yeah, this is one of the, like we said at the top of the show, Lenny's a great ambassador for the sport. Always love getting to chat with him, getting to see him. So, Lenny, thanks for giving us 90 minutes today, man.
Oh, God, my pleasure, guys. It's nice to be remembered. but no, it's been a blast. I love the game. I want to keep continuing the game. I love what you guys do. Just got to stay strong here in this trying times and get back to the Open Championships in 2021 and see if Lynn's Limited can do another run.
All right. Well, Aaron and Lenny, we appreciate all the great insight today and the storytelling, of course, and all the folks who tuned in and dropped some comments and questions in our chat. Thank you all for being here on Bowl TV. Inside the OC will be back next Thursday. And, of course, a lot of great content coming your way on Bowl TV each day of the week, including Aaron Smith and the PWB podcast every Monday afternoon. So check that out. And so far, Mondays and Wednesdays. But we'll see. Maybe some new things coming your way on Bowl TV. And we appreciate everybody tuning in. And as always, again, Lenny, we'll see you in Las Vegas once again in 2021 and 2022. And we know you like that building and a lot of great memories there. So looking forward to seeing what you guys have in store for us. But for Aaron and Lenny, my name is Matt Canizaro, folks. That's the news for now. We'll see you on the lanes.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.